Legendary actor Sir Sean Connery is best known as the first actor to portray James Bond on the big screen. He went on to star in the first 7 films of the franchise, becoming an icon. However, recent revelations about his life have surprised and even shocked some of his devoted fans. Let's take a deep dive into both the well-known and lesser-known chapters of Sean Connery's life. Born Thomas Sean Connery at the Royal Maternity Hospital in Edinburgh, Scotland, on August 25, 1930, he was named after his paternal grandfather. His parents soon welcomed a second son, Neil. Their father, Joseph Connery, was a factory worker and lorry driver, while their mother, Euphemia McBain McLean, worked as a cleaner. Connery was of Scottish descent. Raised in a Christian household, his father was Roman Catholic and his mother Protestant. The brothers grew up at 176 Fountain Bridge, a location that no longer exists due to redevelopment. As a child, Connery was small for his age but experienced a significant growth spurt, reaching 6'2" by the time he was 18 due to the family's financial struggles. He had to leave school at just 9 years old to help support the household. One of his earliest jobs was delivering milk for St. Cuthbert's Cooperative Society in 2009. Connery shared a memory from his youth. When I took a taxi during a recent Edinburgh Film Festival, the driver was amazed I knew every street. How come? He asked. As a boy, I used to deliver milk around here in 1946, I told him. Shortly after World War II in 1946, Connery enlisted in the Royal Navy. During his service, he got to tattoos both meaningful. As stated on his official website, unlike many tattoos, his were not frivolous. They reflect 2 of his lifelong commitments: his family in Scotland. One tattoo read Mum and Dad, the other simply stated Scotland forever. He trained as a naval gunner in Portsmouth and served on an anti-aircraft crew aboard HMS Formidable. Eventually he attained the rank of able seaman. Unfortunately, in 1949, he was medically discharged after being diagnosed with a duodenal ulcer, a hereditary condition affecting the men in his family. Returning to civilian life, Connery took on a series of odd jobs to make ends meet. He worked as a lorry driver, lifeguard at Portobello swimming baths, laborer, and even a coffin polisher. One of his more unique roles was working as an artist's model for the Edinburgh College of Art, where he earned 15 shillings an hour. Relatively good wage at the time. DeMarco, a student who painted several early portraits of Connery, once described him as very straight, slightly shy, too beautiful for words, a virtual Adonis. At the age of 18, Connery began seriously building his physique. In 1951, he trained under Ellington, former gym instructor from the British Army. Connery even competed in the Mr. Universe competition, though sources differ on the year. According to his official website, he participated in 1950 and placed 3rd overall. Other reports claim he competed in 1953, ranking 3rd in the junior class, unable to qualify for the tall man category. However, Connery soon became disillusioned with bodybuilding. He often lost to American competitors who, he complained, focused only on building bulk and refused to engage in athletic activity, which Connery believed would better round out their physicality but risk muscle loss. A passionate footballer, Connery had played for Benerrig, Rose, Athletic in his youth. While on tour, he played in a local match against a team managed by none other than Matt Busby, the legendary Manchester United manager. Impressed by Connery's physical prowess, Busby reportedly offered him a contract worth £25 a week, equivalent to £882 in 2023. Despite the tempting offer, Connery turned it down. I realized that a top-class footballer could be over the hill by the age of 30, and I was already 23. I decided to become an actor. It turned out to be one of my more intelligent moves, he later recalled. Connery's journey into acting began modestly. In late 1951, he took backstage work at the King's Theatre to supplement his income. Then, in 1953, during a bodybuilding competition in London, another contestant mentioned open auditions for the musical South Pacific. Connery auditioned and landed a minor role as one of the CB's sailors. In the chorus, when the production reached Edinburgh, Connery was promoted to play Marine CPL Hamilton Steeves and served as an understudy for 2 of the juvenile leads. His weekly pay increased from £2 to £14 and 10 shillings. The show returned the next year due to popular demand, and Connery was again promoted, this time to the featured role of Lieutenant Buzz Adams, originally played by Larry Hagman in the West End. During the production, while still living in Edinburgh, Connery had a run-in with the notorious Valdor Gang, one of the city's most feared criminal groups. The first confrontation occurred in a billiard hall, where Connery thwarted an attempt to steal his jacket. On his way home, 6 gang members followed him. Connery led them to a 15-foot-high balcony at the Palais de Danse, where he launched a bold counterattack, grabbing one by the throat and another by the bicep and cracking their heads together. After that fight, the gang reportedly treated Connery with newfound respect, and he earned a reputation as a hard man. It was during the 1954 Christmas run of South Pacific at the Opera House in Manchester that Connery's passion for serious theater began to grow. American actor Robert Henderson played a pivotal role in this development by lending Connery classic plays, including Henrik Ibsen's Hedda Gabler, The Wild Duck, and When We Dead Awaken. Robert Henderson continued to play a pivotal role in Sean Connery's development as an actor. He encouraged Connery to study the works of great literary figures such as Leo Tolstoy, James Joyce, William Shakespeare, and others. Recognizing Connery's potential, Robert also advised him to take speaking lessons to refine his diction and stage presence. With Robert's support, Connery secured parts at the Maida Vale Theatre in London. Although not his first time in front of the camera, he had previously appeared as an extra in Herbert Wilcox's 1954 musical Lilacs in the Spring. Starring Errol Flynn and Anna Neagle, he was still far from financially secure. During this time, he worked part-time as a babysitter for journalist Peter Noble and his wife, actress Mary Ann, earning 10 shillings a night. One evening at the Nobles' home, Connery met Hollywood actress Shelley Winters, who described him as one of the tallest, most charming, and most masculine Scotsmen she had ever encountered. She later spent several evenings with Sean and his brother, enjoying drinks and conversation. Connery was living with TV presenter Lou Gardner at the time. Robert Henderson remained a true friend, helping him land a £6-a-week role at the Q Theatre in a production of Agatha Christie's Witness for the Prosecution. There, he became friends with fellow Scottish actor Ian Bannon. Connery's acting career began to pick up momentum. Performed in Point of Departure and A Witch in Time at the Q Theatre, played Pentheus opposite Yvonne Mitchell and the Bacchae at the Oxford Playhouse, and starred alongside Jill Bennett and Eugene O'Neill's Anna Christie at the Oxford Theatre. Connery landed a brief role as a boxer in the television series The Square Ring. He then caught the attention of Canadian director Alvin Rakoff, who gave him multiple roles in The Condemned, filmed on location in Dover, Kenta in 1956. Connery appeared in the stage production Epitaph, and had a small role as a hoodlum in the Ladies of the Manor episode of the BBC police drama Dixon of Dock Green. These early roles helped him secure small parts in other shows, including Sailor of Fortune and a European-filmed episode of the Jack Benny program. Connery's true breakthrough came with his casting as British secret agent James Bond. Initially reluctant to commit to a film series, Connery recognized the potential impact on his career if the film succeeded. It was Dana Broccoli, wife of producer Albert Cubby Broccoli, who ultimately persuaded her husband to give Connery a chance. Dana saw in Connery what the role of Bond demanded: charisma, strength, and mystery, and pushed hard for his casting. Her belief paid off, as Connery's performance in Dr. No would go on to launch one of the most successful franchises in film history and turn him into a global icon. It was Dana Broccoli, wife of producer Albert Cubby Broccoli, who ultimately convinced her husband that Sean Connery was the perfect choice for James Bond. However, the character's creator Ian Fleming initially had strong reservations about Connery's casting. He remarked, "He's not what I envisioned for James Bond. I'm looking for Commander Bond, not an overgrown stuntman." Fleming thought Connery was too rugged, too tall at 6 feet 2, too muscular, and being a Scot, too unrefined for the role. However, Fleming's opinion shifted, largely due to the influence of his then-girlfriend Blanche Blackwell, and pointed out Connery's undeniable sexual charisma. After the stunning success of Dr. No, Fleming was so impressed by Connery's performance that he actually rewrote Bond's backstory in his 1964 novel, You Only Live Twice, declaring Bond's father to be Scottish, from Glencoe, in the Scottish Highlands, a nod to Connery's own heritage. Between 1962 and 1967, Connery played Bond in the first 5 official Eon Productions films. Dr. No 1962. It's From Russia with Love 1963, Goldfinger 1964, Thunderball 1965. You Only Live Twice 1967. Although he stepped away from the role afterward, he returned in 1971 for Diamonds Are Forever, and once more in 1983 for Never Say Never Again, a Nan remake of Thunderball produced by Jack Schwartzman's Talia film. All 7 of Connery's Bond films were commercial successes and helped define the spy genre for generations. His portrayal of Bond was so iconic that the American Film Institute later ranked his James Bond as the 3rd greatest hero in cinematic history. Connery's standout performance as Bond owed much to director Terence Young, who not only coached Connery on the role, but helped shape his screen persona. According to Lois Maxwell, who played Miss Moneypenny, Terence took Sean under his wing. He took him to dinner, showed him how to walk, how to talk, even how to eat. This transformation was a resounding success. Following the release of Dr. No Connery, received thousands of fan letters each week. His portrayal of 007 made him a global sex symbol. The now famous line, Bond, James Bond, ... became one of the most iconic catchphrases in pop culture. Film critic Peter Bradshaw later wrote, "It is the most famous self-introduction from any character in movie history." Connery delivered it with icily disdainful style, in full evening dress. A cigarette dangling from his lips, a challenge or seduction, clearly addressed to an enemy. In the early 1960s, Connery's Bond was the epitome of danger and sex appeal on screen. However, Connery's time as Bond wasn't without risks. During the filming of Thunderball in 1965, his life was genuinely endangered. One scene, Bond is trapped in villain Emilio Largo's shark-filled pool. Concerned about safety, Connery insisted that production designer Ken Adam install a plexiglass partition in the water. Fortunately, the barrier wasn't secure and one of the sharks slipped through, forcing Connery to abandon the pool immediately. Despite the fame, fortune, and acclaim, Connery eventually grew weary of the Bond franchise. He found the intense media attention, studio pressure, and the repetitive nature of the role increasingly stifling. While Bond had made him a star, it also began to limit his artistic freedom, and he longed to explore more diverse and meaningful roles beyond 007. Sean Connery eventually became vocal about his frustration with being typecast as James Bond. "I am fed up with the whole Bond bit," he once said, "and I've always hated that damn James Bond. I'd like to kill him." His close friend Michael Caine later commented, "If you were his friend in those early days, you didn't raise the subject of Bond. He's a much better actor than just playing James Bond." But he became synonymous with Bond. He'd be walking down the street. People would say, "Look, there's James Bond." That was particularly upsetting to him. Despite his rising fame as 007, Connery also took on challenging roles in other films, notably starred in Alfred Hitchcock's 1964 thriller Marnie and Sidney Lumet's The Hill the following year. Film critic Peter Bradshaw would later regard these as Connery's 2 greatest non-Bond performances of the 1960s. In the mid-1960s, Connery's passion for social issues led him to collaborate with Scottish industrialist Ian Maxwell Stewart, whom he met while golfing. This connection gave Connery the opportunity to direct and narrate the 1967 documentary The Bowler and the Bunnet, which explored the Fairfield experiment, a bold new approach to industrial relations at the Fairfield Shipbuilding and Engineering Company in Glasgow. The initiative was supported by George Brown, the first secretary in Harold Wilson's cabinet. In his later career, Connery appeared in a mix of critical hits and misses. While he earned praise for films like Finding Forrester 2000, he also faced disappointment with box office failures such as First Night, Just Cause, The Avengers, and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen 2003. The latter, in particular, proved to be a breaking point. Connery sensed trouble during production and reportedly said, "The director Stephen Norrington should be locked up for insanity." He invested significant effort trying to salvage the film during post-production, but ultimately found the experience so stressful that he retired from acting rather than endure such creative turmoil again. Connery famously turned down several high-profile roles, including Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He admitted he did not understand the script, despite being offered $30 million USD plus 15% of the global box office, which would have netted him around $450 million USD. He also declined the roles of Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series and the Architect in the Matrix trilogy in 2005. Connery briefly returned to the Bond universe by voicing 007 in the video game From Russia with Love, providing both voice and likeness. He recorded the voiceover in the Bahamas with producer Terry Manning, saying he was pleased the game's creators at Electronic Arts had approached him. On June 8, 2006, Connery was honored with the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award. He confirmed his retirement from acting soon after, expressing disillusionment with the idiots now making films in Hollywood. A year later, on June 7, 2007, he publicly dismissed rumors that he would appear in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, stating retirement is just too damned fun. In 2010, a bronze bust of Connery was installed in Tallinn, Estonia, outside the Scottish club. His members include Estonian Scots and a small group of Scottish expatriates, although he remained largely retired. Connery returned briefly in 2012 to voice the titular character in the Scottish animated film Sir Billy, which he also co-produced as an 80-minute feature, away from the camera, personal life off-screen. Connery had a deep love for football. A lifelong Celtic FC supporter, introduced to the club by his father, he later controversially switched allegiances to Rangers FC after becoming close friends with the club's chairman, David Murray. He was also a passionate golfer, a hobby he picked up in the 1960s through his friend Ian Stewart. Before filming the iconic golf scene in Goldfinger 1964, English golf legend Peter Allises gave Connery private lessons to help him look authentic on screen. The sport quickly became a lifelong obsession. One of Sean Connery's most iconic scenes, as James Bond took place on the golf course playing against gold magnate or Goldfinger at Stoke Park Golf Club in Buckinghamshire. The scene from Goldfinger 1964 not only elevated Bond's suave persona, but also highlighted Connery's real-life passion for the sport. Golf legend Jack Nicklaus, a major championship winner and course designer, later said he loved the game of golf. Sean was a pretty darn good golfer, and we played together several times. In May 1993, Connery joined Nicklaus and racing icon Jackie Stewart to open the PGA Centenary course at Glen Neagles, in Scotland, a course designed by Nicklaus himself. Romantic relationships. Connery's personal life was marked by numerous romantic involvements, particularly during the early stages of his career. During the mid-1950s, while working on the stage production of South Pacific, he dated Carol Sopel, a dark-haired Jewish beauty with a ballerina's figure. Their relationship ended due to opposition from her family. He later dated Julie Hamilton, daughter of feminist and documentary filmmaker Jill Craigie. At first, Hamilton found Connery's rugged looks and bold demeanor off-putting, even calling him appalling. But her opinion shifted dramatically when she saw him in a kilt, calling him the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Connery also shared a brief mutual attraction with jazz singer Maxine Daniels, whom he met during his theater days. However, Daniels declined his advances, telling him she was happily married with a child. In 1962, Connery married Australian actress Diane Salento, with whom he had one son, Jason Connery, who would go on to become an actor and director. Though they separated in 1971, their divorce wasn't finalized until 1974. During his separation in the early 70s, Connery was romantically linked to several high-profile women, including Denise D. Cannon, Jill St. John, Lena Wood, Carol Mallory, Magda Konopka. In 1975, Connery married Micheline Roquebron, a French-Moroccan painter. The two remained married until his death and frequently appeared in public together. Recognition and controversies. Connery was admired not just for his screen presence but also for his interests and accomplishments beyond acting. He held an honorary first-degree black belt Shodan in Kyokushin karate, testament to his lifelong dedication to fitness and discipline. On July 5, 2000, Queen Elizabeth II knighted Sean Connery during an investiture ceremony at Holyrood Palace in Edinburgh. However, Connery's later years weren't free from controversy. In her 2006 autobiography, Connery's former partner Diane Salento alleged that he had subjected her to mental and physical abuse during their marriage. Connery denied the claims and cancelled a planned appearance at the Scottish Parliament that year due to public backlash surrounding the allegations. Controversially, Connery had made earlier comments in a 1965 Playboy interview, stating, "I don't think there is anything particularly wrong in hitting a woman, though I don't recommend doing it in the same way you hit a man." He doubled down in a 1993 Vanity Fair interview, saying there are women who take it to the wire. That's what they're looking for. The ultimate confrontation. They want to smack. These remarks sparked ongoing criticism. In 2006, Connery later stated through a representative that he no longer believed any level of abuse against women was ever justifiable under any circumstances. During his marriage to Michelin, it was also revealed that Connery had engaged in an affair with a singer and songwriter. Although details of the relationship remained largely private in the late 1980s, Sean Connery had an affair with Lindsay DePaul, a British singer and songwriter. DePaul later expressed regret, not because Connery was married at the time, but due to his controversial views on domestic violence. Despite the controversy surrounding his statements about women, Connery remained deeply engaged in political activism, particularly concerning Scottish independence. His Scottish heritage and personal experience filming The Bowler and the Brunette in Glasgow shipyards in 1966 inspired him to become a long-standing supporter of the Scottish National Party, SNP, a centre-left political party, advocating for Bertie and independent Scotland. In 2011, Connery reflected on his political awakening. The Bowler and the Brunette was just the beginning of a journey that would lead to my long association with the Scottish National Party. He supported the SNP not only through public appearances, but also financially, even wrote a letter of endorsement in 1967 to SNP candidate George Leslie during the Glasgow Pollock by-election. "I am convinced that with our resources and skills, we are more than capable of building a prosperous, vigorous, and modern self-governing Scotland, in which we can all take pride and which will deserve the respect of other nations." However, his financial support ceased in 2001. Following UK legislation that banned overseas donations to UK political causes, Connery was often accused of being a tax exile, particularly because of his long-term residence in the Bahamas. In response, he released documents in 2003 showing he had paid £3.7 million in UK taxes between 1997, 1998, 2002, 2003. Still, critics noted that if he had been residing full-time in the UK, his tax liabilities would have been significantly higher. In the lead-up to the 2014 Scottish independence referendum, Connery stayed out of Scotland. His brother Neil Connery explained that due to his tax status, Sean was limited in the number of days he could spend in the UK without incurring additional taxes, preventing him from rallying in person for the Yes campaign. After Connery sold his villa in Marbella in 1999, Spanish authorities launched an investigation alleging a £5.5 million tax fraud related to the sale. Although Connery himself was eventually cleared, his wife Micheline Roquebrune and 16 others were charged with attempting to defraud the Spanish treasury. Death and legacy. On October 31, 2020, Sean Connery passed away in his sleep at his home in the Lifford Cay community of Nassau, Bahamas. He was 90 years old. His family and Eon Productions, the company behind the Bond films, announced his death, but initially did not reveal the cause. A day later, Michelin confirmed that Connery had suffered from dementia in his final years. A month later, TMZ obtained his death certificate, which listed the cause of death as pneumonia and respiratory failure. The time of death was recorded as 1:30 a.m. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in Scotland at undisclosed locations in 2022. Even after his death, Connery continued to be widely honored. In a 2004 Sunday Herald poll, he was named the greatest living Scot. A 2011 Euro Millions survey ranked him as Scotland's greatest living national treasure. In 2024, the Edinburgh International Film Festival introduced a new annual award in his honor, the Sean Connery Prize for Feature Filmmaking Excellence. The £50,000 prize is awarded to the makers of a film selected by audience vote from a short list of 10 world premieres at the festival each year, ensuring that Connery's legacy continues to inspire future generations of filmmakers.